Hey, good Monday afternoon, everybody. I'm meteorologist Tim Pandajis. Let's talk about this Arctic cold front that's not only going to be impacting us here in southeast Texas, but if you've got plans to travel for Christmas, likelihood you'll run into more cold air no matter where you go. In fact, the only safe spots for this bitter freeze is going to be like Central and South Florida and Southern California. That's how widespread this Arctic outbreak will be. Here locally, here are the details. It arrives, the Arctic front, Thursday evening. Now, out ahead of it, I think we push temperatures up into the upper 60s, maybe low 70s before the front gets here. So mild day overall Thursday, but the bottom drops out late Thursday afternoon into the evening as the front digs its way through and cold air surges in behind it. Once we drop below freezing, which will happen pretty quickly, thing like 7, 8 o'clock, we're already sub-freezing. Then we stay there for 24, maybe as long as 40, 48 hours. So 2 days worth of time that we don't get above 32 degrees. Now, temperatures at their coldest, I think, will be Friday morning. The core of the cold builds on in. Actual air temperatures in the teens and 20s Friday morning. However, factor in winds that will be howling out of the north, 35, 40, 45 miles per hour, sustained 25 to 30, means that we'll have wind chills. How it actually feels on exposed skin, in the single digits. Areas well north of I-10 could get close to zero or even below zero in terms of those wind chill values Friday morning. Now, the only silver lining with this front is that it's going to pass through dry, meaning no wintry precipitation, no snow, no sleet or ice. But in my honest opinion, if we're going to get this cold, I'd rather see some snow, but that's just my opinion. A dry front, but it will be windy, as I mentioned. All right, let's talk about what type of freeze this is. There are different types. There's a radiation freeze, which is just clear skies and light winds allowing the warmth from the day to radiate back out into space and temperatures drop below freezing. In that scenario, you're usually able to protect sensitive vegetation outside by putting the frost blanket on them, right? Because you don't have the wind. You can effectively, impart the greenhouse effect on a plant, keeping the heat in. However, we're looking at this time around something called an advection freeze. And what that is strong winds transport in our sub-freezing temperatures. We've got an Arctic front coming on in. Behind it, winds kick up at 40 miles an hour or so, and that transports in the colder temperatures, meaning temperatures tumble to below freezing. Wind chills could be 5 to 15 degrees, if not colder than that. That wind evacuates all the warm air from around the plant. So frost blankets that are trying to hold in the warmth around the plants to keep them surviving, going to have a much tougher go at it this time around with that strong wind. So keep that in mind. Any sensitive plants that you could bring inside, you certainly should do so. Anything in ground, it's going to be tough to protect. There are certain products on the market that claim to protect and be wind rated. So maybe look for some of those if you've got some really expensive tropical plants. Those are very common in this area, so keep that in mind there. Again, gusts of 40 miles per hour. Thursday evening with the arrival of the front, staying breezy through Friday and even into Saturday as well. All right, let's look at the front now itself. Here it is by Wednesday evening in the plains, moving through Colorado, the Rockies, diving south. Now, a lot of that cold air is butting up against the spine of the Rockies and then being forced south. Here we are Thursday at 6 a.m. It's already below zero in Denver. 11 degrees. That's the actual air temperature according to the European model. It gets into the panhandle of Texas down into the 30s by Thursday morning, but dropping into the 20s in Lubbock. Moves through Dallas by early afternoon down in 38 here. We're still nice and warm. In fact, at this point in time, we're one of the warmest places in the country, with the exception of South Florida. We're in the low 70s potentially according to this model, but it doesn't last. The front races through. Winds open up out of the north, and look at how quickly we fall into the 30s. By 9 o'clock, we're in the 30s. In fact, some models have us going from upper 60s to low 70s to 30s within a couple hours worth of time. So the drop will be fast. The drop will be dramatic as we head into Thursday evening. And overnight into Friday morning, this is, again, when I expect the coldest temperatures to be across southeast Texas. 19 degrees at 7 a.m. However, remember the gusty winds. They'll be howling at 40 miles an hour, making it feel a whole lot colder. All right, here's a close-up view of our Houston area and surrounding cities and towns. Thursday afternoon, pretty warm, a little bit above average by this point in time. Should be around 65 or so this time of the year. There's the leading edge of our cold front. Look at 53 at College Station, but Brenham, 68. Watch how quickly things change going through the evening hours. Down to 35 at College Station by 7:15. We're already in the 40s outside of Houston, 50 at Houston officially. And then by 10 o'clock, we are in the 20s north of the area. 30s make it all the way to the coast, and it just gets colder overnight into Friday morning, stopping things at 7 a.m. because typically right before sun comes up, we get our coldest temperatures. And this looks to be it. Mid-teens north of I-10, 19 at Houston. By the way, if we do in fact get into the teens for overnight lows at Bush, which is our official reporting location, it'll be the first time we've got overnight lows in the teens in December since the early 1990s. So it's been a long time. Cold outbreaks happen, but not usually in December like this. 17 at Brenham, 15 at College Station, 21 Angleton, even in the upper 20s in the Galveston. So everybody looking at a hard freeze by Friday morning. Here's a look at wind gusts at that same time, 7 a.m. I will tell you that if we go back in time here to say 1, 2 a.m., we've got winds gusting over 40 miles per hour, but temperatures aren't at their coldest at that point. So wind chills will be cold all night in early Friday morning, and this is what those winds will make the actual temperatures feel like on exposed skin. Wind chill values. It'll feel like 1 at Huntsville, 0 at College Station, 6 in Sugar Land. Pearland feeling like 5 degrees early Friday morning. And even in the low teens, it'll feel like in Galveston. So a bitter cold blast coming our way. And it's not just for one day. Friday will be the coldest. Overnight lows in the teens, not getting out of the low 30s, not getting above freezing on Friday, most likely. Now, in a Saturday morning, still starting off very cold. Another hard freeze likely Saturday, 21. Warming up, though, I think by mid-afternoon into the mid to upper 30s. So just barely above the freezing mark. Another cold start Christmas morning, mid-20s, potentially a third hard freeze in a row. But by Sunday afternoon, by Christmas Day in the afternoon, I think we see temperatures get up into the low 40s, so we start to thaw things out. And overnight lows going further from there into the middle of next week. I think we see a nice rebound in temperatures. Not only will lows be well above freezing, but afternoon highs, I think, should make it into the 70s. So we just got to get through these 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, for some bitter cold. If you're traveling throughout Texas, no escaping this cold there either. Here's a look at Friday, Saturday, and Sunday's forecast. Christmas Eve in the 30s pretty much everywhere, with the exception of Big Bend over to El Paso and down to Brownsville. Christmas Day a little bit milder. Notice we're starting to see temperatures everywhere into the 40s by that point, so that's the good news. All right, now if you're sticking around Texas, it'll be cold, but it will be dry. But what about if you're traveling across the country? Let's fast forward to Thursday. Here we are at 7:30. Got a pretty epic snowstorm taking shape over the Great Lakes into interior portions of New England and the Northeast. That's going to cause some travel issues there if you're looking to get to your location by Christmas Eve. That wraps up and heads into New England and the Northeast by Christmas Eve. Everywhere else by Christmas Day looks to be shaping up a little bit more on the quieter side, the exception up in Washington State, over to Oregon as well, seeing a little bit of rain, maybe some mountain snow, but elsewhere, Christmas Day looks to shape up a little bit on the quieter side. All right, tale of two Christmases, right? Last year in Houston, 2021, after we went through the warmest December on record, of course, Christmas Day was warm, 80 degrees last Christmas, 16 degrees above average. Christmas this year, at least the forecast high, 45 degrees. The average high is 64. So we're 19 degrees below average. By the way, I want to take a second to talk about what we can do to prepare your homes and your yards for this cold that's about to come on in Thursday night and early Friday morning. Now, if you are heading out for Christmas, leaving home, make sure before you go, you winterize your home. Cover and insulate all exterior irrigation pipes, pool systems, pool lines that are above ground. Make sure you have those filters. If you have a variable speed pump, put it on 50% speed and just keep that thing running 24 hours a day if you're gone, to really keep the water moving and circulating in your pool systems. Irrigation lines, try to blow them out and clear them from any standing water in those lines to avoid freezing and cracking them. Now, your homes, if you're leaving or if you're sticking around, if you're leaving, turn the water system off to your home. That's the best bet there to avoid pipes from freezing. Drain all lines, run all the faucets, run all the showers to drain the water from your lines. Keep the heaters running to make sure your home stays warm, and that permeates the walls and keeps the pipes from freezing as well. If you're staying home and it gets that cold, again, keep the water dripping. Open all the cabinets under sinks and everything to get some of that heat in there. And keep the water running on drip if you're at home. If the power stays on, we're fine. But with the winds gusting 40 to 45 miles per hour, that could become an issue of some sporadic power outages that could increase the risk of pipes bursting in homes. So I want you to keep that in mind there. In terms of covering plants, I talked about the advection freeze and how the wind will really be whipping around and transporting that cold air in here. It's going to be very tough to protect a lot of those plants unless you really weigh them down with some thick freeze blanket.